time it is. I've been putting this off for a month now, mainly because I just don't have time to commit to doing this, because this is going to be a long process. But I need to check that pan for debris, and the vent line that is way up there behind the dipstick. I need to flush that out with some brake clean to make sure that's not why this thing is puking fluid out of the dipstick tube. So I've never done one of these before. I've seen enough people do it to know that it's messy as all get out. So I'm gonna try to record some of this and show you what happens, but I make no guarantees, because the Jeep's just sitting on the ground. There's no ramps or jack stands under it right now, so this is pretty low, and filming is going to be hard. I really don't want to ruin my phone camera with transmission fluid, so I'm going to let this thing drain. If anything funny happens, I'll show you, but once we get the the pan out of there, I'll let you guys see what's in it, and I'll show you where the vent tube is if you don't know. And I don't know, I'm going to put brake clean down it. I don't know if that's the right way to do it, but I've heard of other people doing it. As long as the pan is off, it should just come straight out and go into the catch pan. Obviously you don't want it, I wouldn't think you would want that floating around in your transmission pan, but yeah, as long as it's open. And I got a service kit for it. I'll show you the filter and the gasket and stuff when it's time to go back together. The only real issue is going to be these two bolts back here. They're up over that transmission mount, so the pan's going to have to drop down on the front, slide forward. I can't get a socket on those, just a little box in. They're all 1/2 inch, so not a big issue, but you can get your hands in there. So at least, worst case, when it goes time to put it back together, I'll be able to get my fingers up in there to get it tight, or get them started, and then the little box in there to finish them down. All right, let's get rolling. Enough talking, enough stalling. Let's get covered in transmission fluid. All right, there's the pan. See, there's a lot of shiny stuff in there. Not a ton, it's kind of hard to see because the fluid is shiny. But let's see, it's not piled up or anything, but it's definitely in there. And you can see the it's kind of glittery on the gloves too. And didn't make too much of a mess getting it out. But there she is. The next trick's going to be to get that cleaned up so I can get under it without getting dripped on. You can see it's kind of made a mess out of my work area. Get that filter off of there and get the new one on. Get the mating surface cleaned up there, and the new pan gasket on. So I'm going to clean this pan up with some brake clean, and then I'll show you the kit. We'll get to flushing the vent tube next after that. Alright, so the vent tube, if you're curious, is on top of the transmission. It's right there, that little thing. Mine's plastic, but I don't know if that's normal or not, who knows, but it'll be there on a TH400, and it's just right under the four-wheel drive shift lever plate. So there's a gasket, the rubber plate, and then the actual boot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some brake clean and try to get the straw for the brake clean can up in there and blast some in there, and hopefully it'll come out into the transmission pan, or the transmission catch pan that's under it. But we'll see. I also noticed on the transmission filter, that hole right there is where the bolt goes to fasten it up to the transmission. It goes up into that hole right there with this shouldered bolt. Now in my case, the shouldered bolt was all the way down, but the filter was just doing that on it. I don't know if that's supposed to be that way. I have a feeling they're supposed to be maybe some kind of washer or something that goes in there to take up that slack. But also the filter was barely hooked up. It just fell off. I'll show you, there's a tube too. There's the pan all clean, but that little tube just goes in there. You see it's labeled case filter, so filter side goes into the filter, case side slides up into the case. There's an O-ring up in there, I guess. It all came out as one piece. I'll figure that out next. We have to throw a washer on there or something to snug that up. But I'm gonna keep moving.
Is this welcome?
No. That's a fuse. There's, if you open that up, there's a glass fuse inside of it. No. It's supposed to look like that. No, not right this second. There you go. That stuff's coming right through. Again, I turned that little guy up a little bit, gingerly. Don't want to break him off. This is the third time I've done this. The first two times not much came out, but now it's coming right through. So I don't know if that's telling me that I flushed something out of there or what. I also don't know if that's bad for the transmission. I assume that the vent tube just comes right out of the bottom, so if I let the brake clean evaporate, I'll be fine. So if you're watching this video and you choose to do it this way, your mileage may vary. I've seen others do this with TH400s with no negative side effects. But like with all things on YouTube, take it with a grain of salt. If you're not willing to potentially damage your transmission, then take it to a professional, or I guess do some more research. But I'm comfortable with doing it this way, just because I've seen others do it and it seems to work. But I'm going to let that drip. I'm going to flush it a few more times just to make sure. And yeah, next steps are going to be looking for a washer to put that filter back on, get all that reassembled pan back on, and then we're going to crank it up, top it off, and hopefully that will fix our problems. Or I just made it much worse. I don't know, but that's part of learning, isn't it? Okay, so here's another close-up look at this little thing. It's just plastic. Cleaned the pan out with some brake clean. This is the new gasket, and I just checked it does line up. Check it before you throw the old one away. This one's still in okay shape, so I could probably reuse it. It looks like this thing was serviced relatively recently, which could be good or bad, I don't know. Here's the new filter, and you see there's still no grommet there, so I'm going to have to figure out what to do, or go look at the parts book real quick and see if there's supposed to be a spacer in there to make that bolt tight. And this is the part number for the kit. I got this off of Rock Auto, I think for $10 or $15. But that's it. It includes the gasket and the filter, and that's pretty much it. So let me go see what I can find on the parts book about what to do with this. If there needs to be a washer in there, or if that's supposed to be able to move. I mean, maybe it's supposed to be kind of floating in there. I don't know. I don't think so. That seems like a bad idea, because that will allow this to come loose. But who knows? Maybe it's designed that way. We'll go find out. Okay, so here's where we're at. Nothing like using a camera to film a computer screen, but so here's the parts book. You can see the filter right there, and if we take a close look at it, there's the bolt, filter, there's our O-ring, there's our filter neck, and then there's the O-ring that stayed on top of that stayed in the transmission when I pulled the filter neck down. I don't know, maybe that's how it's supposed to be. You know, this is real life, this is how things get done. But you know, looking at form here, you know, I've checked a bunch. This is Pirate 4x4, but there's a ton of them. This is just the one that's up right now. But they all seem to be saying the same thing. You know, why is it that way? But that's just the way it is. So my guess would be that maybe it's to account for angles in the transmission. So if it's fluid goes low, the filter kind of floats in there. Or if you go up an incline or something, maybe, I don't know. I'm gonna put it back together that way. It was shifting just fine the way it was. The only issue is it's burping fluid out, which is making it run low and then slip. So I'm gonna put it back together the way it is. I'm gonna give it a little bit more time to drip dry, and then we're gonna get the show moving. So there's our new filter. It's kind of a pain to get that neck re-engaged over there, but it's in. There's the pan. Notice how the filter is flush against the front of the valve body up here and then kind of dangles back here. I'm gonna show you how it has a lot of slop in it. That's what I was worried about, but apparently that's normal. I don't know. So I'm gonna get the pan here. I'm gonna try to get a couple bolts in with that gasket and get it situated. I'll work my way around to the back here, and then start buttoning it up. It's been sitting about 30-45 minutes to let that brake clean evaporate out of there and drip. And it's done dripping now, so I guess it's whatever's gonna come out is out. So we're getting closer to the finish line, but let's go ahead and wrap it up. There it is, back on. Not super hard to get back on. The gasket was tight enough that it actually held the bolts in for me while I can snug them down. Kind of like doing the valve cover gasket, kind of work your way around. Don't snug one all the way up and then start the one next to it. Like, do it in stages. You can't want to warp the pan or anything. Those two back there directly above the transmission mount, well, the worst can only be gotten to with box end, which about an 1/8, 16th of a turn at a time, but they're tight. All of them are tight. So I guess at this point, I see the gap all the way around. There's no spaces or anything, just the gasket. I'm gonna fill it back up. I'm gonna start with 3 quarts, check it, and then I've got 5 quarts total to put in it. If it takes more than that, then you know, it's gonna have to wait. But let's do that part next, see what happens. All right, this is the stuff I'm putting in it. Just ATF. Like I said, I got a gallon and a quart, so 5 quarts. And dipstick tube back there. So I'm gonna go grab a funnel. We're gonna fill that up. Well, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fill it up, put some in it until I can see it on the dipstick. It should read high when the engine is off because all the fluid's in the pan. When you crank it up, it sucks it up and then runs it back through. And at that point, I can check it, and for real, but it has to be running in neutral. So, okay, I'm gonna go grab a funnel. We're gonna top that off and see where we get. She's got about 4 quarts in it now. So let's check it. As far as I know, if there's any on the stick at all, as long as it's not at the very bottom, there should be enough to crank it up at least. And we're right on the add line, so it's gonna read high while it's off, but let's just crank it up and let it run for a minute. And then check it while it's running. Let it circulate some fluid. We'll check it again. I have to move the camera though so you guys don't fall off. Alright, so it's running. I have all my gears, or at least forward and reverse. It's in neutral right now. I got the wheels chopped. I'm trying to be safe, unless it goes into gear and runs me over. Stand on the side. So I put another 1.5 in it after it's been running. It's still pretty low on the stick. So I'm gonna let that kind of run for a minute and then check it again. So far so good. Nothing's leaking and it engages well. Alright. Enough dinking around. Let's do something, huh? Alright, so look a little test drive here. Maybe. Oh. This thing hasn't been driven since I got it back from the shop. I mean, other than in the driveway. So I may well lose you folks. We'll see. Get in drive, buddy. Started this, you hear that clicking? That's the speedometer. That's nothing. That's nothing else. It's bouncing around pretty bad. All right, gear's working. Let's run back over here real quick, and then we'll check and see if we're still barfing fluid. If we are, then we are. You know, not much else we can do about it at this point. Except deal with it. Let's find a spot in the shale in the light here where we can see. Alright, let's see. Nothing yet. Do we dare take it on the street? Try it. Alright. Headlights are on. Turn signals work. Oh. In gear. Alright, we're just going up one block. How bad can it be, right? That poor speedometer. I think something's broken in it. I was excited that it worked originally, but I have a feeling something's bound up in there because it's like every time it clicks, it bounces. I think I might have adjusted the idle down a little bit too much. Here we go. Yeah, by the way, I never, speedometer, goodness gracious, I'm sorry, buddy. It's dinner time. Let's get this thing home. And you can see it's dark. It's working. I don't hear any noise from the rear end, so that's good. But let's get it home and got someone in my driveway. Thank you. Call this done for tonight. You can barely see me. Thanks for watching, and I'll get you some updates soon. Alright, some bonus footage here. And no, it's not leaking transmission fluid yet out of it, which is good. But just started working. So that comes on with the lights. This little rheostat here. This little rheostat right there. That one. He's broken. But the wires on top, if you jiggle them, that comes on. More electrical problems. And a broken speedometer now. Yay. But it's not leaking fluid out of the dipstick tube yet. If I'd had some wood around here, I'd knock on it. But anyway, now I'm done.